If the fuckleberries are too tight.
Up yours, children. Why does your mind look like that?
Perfect. Welcome to No Kids 3 Money, a Simpsons podcast through the lens of time. It's your new favourite podcast about your old favourite show. I'm one half of your host, Ned.
And I'm Matt.
And what do we have in store for the people this week, Matt?
We have Season 2, Episode 4, and Season 10 and 20, Episode 17.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
Especially about that Season 20 bit.
Oh, my God.
Oh, like I said, we're trying. We're really trying, but
It had one joke.
just one.
Yeah. Look, kids, one.
How many jokes does it take to get to the center of a Season 20 episode? Just one. Mr. Matt. Now the Season 20 episodes are being filled by quotes from other shows.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to that in a bit. But let's get on with the Season 2 episode.
Yep. Let's do it.
So what have you got for a synopsis, which you found a brand new site for us this week?
Yeah.
Which has a fuckload of information.
From the same site we've always used, but I just went a different route and found more information. Makes life a lot easier. Only took 4 months. Perfect
Probably
time.
wrote users information. He wrote,
I don't care.
I've done this the Max Power way this whole time.
it's the wrong way, but faster.
But there's a downside to it. The latest polls indicate you're in danger of losing touch with the common man.
Oh dear, heaven forfend.
Which is why, the night before the election, we want you to have dinner at the home of one of your workers.
Oh, I get your angle. Every Joe Meatball and Sally Housecoat in this godforsaken state will see me hunkering down for chow with Eddie Punchclock.
All right, episode 4, season 2 is titled 2 Cars in Every Garage. It should be car hole. And 3 eyes on every fish.
What do you call it?
Synopsis reads, after Bart catches a 3-eyed fish in a river downstream of the Springfield nuclear power plant, the plant is inspected and found to have 342 violations, which would cost $56 million to rectify. In order to prevent his plant from being shut down, Mr. Burns decides to run for governor. After a hard campaign which sees Burns rise from being universally despised to running neck and neck with incumbent Mary Bailey, it is decided that Burns will have dinner with a random employee the night before the election. Homer is chosen, much to Marge's chagrin.
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 As he liked to be called.
Marge serves the 3-eyed fish to Burns for dinner, who cannot eat it, as a result loses the election.
Yes. Alrighty. So it's not the right quote or even the right guy, but as soon as that guy gets out of the car at the start of the episode, all I can think of is, would you kids like to come with me? Yeah, sure, why not?
Oh, perfect. It was so ominous as well.
Yeah, just like extremely creepy the way that I look at him and then just like look back kind of thing.
Like they sense danger arriving.
Yes. And that reporter guy does reoccur throughout the series, doesn't he? But he has a different voice at later points in time and obviously like less of a role kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I feel like he's kind of made out to be more of a, well, it's it's a symptom of like the early season things of them just playing around with stuff. They're like just going, oh, okay, we can throw this character in here, and if he gets a big response, then maybe we'll use him a little bit more. And obviously they liked him, so they kept him around to some degree, but they just use him for like a, bit reporter character in later seasons.
For sure. And like, you don't really know what this guy's angle is when he first pulls up. Sort of like the 2 kids are fishing and he just pulls up on the side of the road and starts walking down and kneels next to them. And as the scene progresses, you find out he's a news reporter, but he doesn't sort of introduce himself or anything like that.
Yeah, he just kind of says something to them at first, which I can't remember exactly what he says. But you're right, he doesn't not allude to that. He doesn't really tell them what he's there for until a couple of lines in, which does give it this really like ominous feeling of like, why is this guy here crouched behind two children at a river?
Yeah.
This is how horror movies start.
Correct. And we get the first iteration of one of Bart's catchphrases, like I'm Bart Simpson, who the hell are you?
I thought that was the first time that came up.
Yeah. Definitely hasn't been said before.
Because he slowly starts to move away from using catchphrases kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is, now that you think about it, just trying not to jump ahead too much, but that scene in the season 20 episode where he literally lists like all of his titles kind of thing, which some of them play into some of his catchphrases, like the I Carumba Kid and stuff like that. So there's a nice little through line there of like it being the iteration of one of his catchphrases and then him sort of self-referring to it, which is, you know, all the season 20 episodes do.
Yeah.
Hey, look at us. We're talking about us.
Yeah. We're so original.
It's only like everyone else that's done this before.
Yeah.
Does it go straight from there to the... Oh, no, that's right. It goes from there to the power plant inspection.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Hang on. Does it go to the scene of the dinner table? Yeah, sorry. It introduces the mayor, the governor.
Mary Bailey.
Yeah. Who she does reoccur like maybe 2 or 3 other times that I can think of.
Yeah.
Okay, so we go from the scene at the river to the Simpsons having breakfast and Marge talking about how Governor Bailey should do something about these hideous genetic mutations. And Homer gets his back up about it because he says the governor should be separating President's Day again.
Yeah.
Instead of having Lincoln's birthday and Washington's birthday as separate holidays, which maybe they used to be. I'm not actually sure. Did that happen in America? Boardman, I'm looking at you.
Maybe like because they ran office at different times, they had their own day when they were running, and then after they both...
No, it was to do with their birthdays, apparently. It's like the holidays for the president's birthdays, and it's just been combined into one.
Right.
For President's Day.
Sort of like the King's birthday for us.
Yes, to a degree, but maybe they used to have separate ones for separate presidents. So he's saying they used to get a bunch of days off.
Yeah.
And then somebody says something about him going to work, and we get a great fucking quote. I bust my hump day in and day out. Marge cuts in. You're late for work, Homer. And he just goes, someone will punch in for me.
No kids, free money.
We'll return right now.
So Burns' voice still hasn't been perfected as of yet, which is interesting because we saw like giant leaps in between season 1 and season 2 when you consider characters like Barney from last week's episode. Like his voice was really weird in season 1, and then it was kind of like spot on.
Yeah.
In that quote from last week, like, hey, it's the president.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it was, and then even in this episode where he's has a couple of lines during the Burns campaign ad, his voice does still falter a little bit, but it's way more close to what it usually is. Whereas Burns's voice is slightly different to what it was in season 1, but still nowhere near what it ends up being.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something like lively about his voice, which I think they sort of decided to take away from his character, and obviously they did in later seasons, and make him seem like way more of this frail old man, which they're starting to introduce, which you see scenes like later on of him like not being able to push over the table. But then there's also certain other things where it's like, you know, like in later seasons, he always, or like he never drives himself around, or it's shown that he can't even drive to a degree.
Yeah.
But we get a scene of him crying in his car after the power plant inspection.
Yeah.
Did you get that quote when the inspectors were turning up? Instead at the front, he's just like, hold me, Smithers.
Yeah. I did see that quote, yeah.
That was fucking great. So yeah, obviously, yeah, as you said, they go through the inspection. There's 342 violations, and then he like tries to blatantly bribe the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Walks back into the room. Oh, look, Smithers, there's a large amount of money and a very stupid man still here.
It's not the first time. Might be the first time he's tried to bribe someone, but it's definitely not the last. I'm sure there's like another meltdown later on where he tries to bribe them as well.
You can have the money or what's in this box. The box. The Bucks.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, one of my only notes is like, has the animation gone backwards since the start of the season? I feel like this episode might have been written earlier on than some of them, but they sort of just chucked it in the middle. Oh, not the middle. Probably the start of the season, but just to get it out of the way.
Well, it's something we know that they do. Like, they would be able to take the liberty of, you know, it being a show that's not, it doesn't have a continuing, like, storyline throughout episodes, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, there is certain things that they, like, attribute to characters and then continue on forever, but it's not like there's a continuing storyline through 3 episodes.
Nah.
If you get what I mean. It's all segmented 20-minute storylines. If this happens, then it all gets resolved.
Resets.
Yes. So, and especially with like the writing structure that we figured out they had, which is about like 6 months something completion to an episode, which you can assume they're working on pretty much like an entire season at a time. So they would probably just be able to go, all right, this one's done. This one goes forward. This one goes here, kind of thing. So it would maybe attribute to the fact that some of the animation kind of jumps around or is a little bit inconsistent.
Yeah. I don't know. Like the Demoxenil episode was amazing. And then the Treehouse of Horror one last week was quite good. But
Really well animated, yeah.
yeah. Also, it didn't sort of strike me as funny as some of the other episodes are in this season. So
Yeah, this one felt like a bit more of a commentary, which I'll get onto in like my later point
yeah.
or my final thoughts.
Yeah.
Ned's final thoughts.
Yeah, one of the funny things I have written down here, I think it's when Burnsy is like campaigning for the governancy, if that's even a word. Governancy.
No.
I don't care.
But he there's like a, I don't know the word to describe it, but he is like hitting a piñata and falls over when it swings back into him, but he can successfully handle a jackhammer, which is shown at the start of that
Exactly
segment.
like I was just saying. Like they're kind of jumping between this like this character trait of him being this frail 110-year-old man or whatever he actually ends up being, and you know, somebody who's just sort of like just on the verge of being old. Like we also got that comment later of Grandpa
Nice.
after he watches the campaign video and being turned around and be like, that's what we need in like government, some young blood. So it's
Yeah.
sort of implying that Grandpa's older than him, but I think Grandpa's only supposed to be like 60 or something once it gets to like season 10.
Yeah. To be in a retirement home, you've probably got to be
70,
70 or 80.
80, something like that. Yeah, maybe actually when
Not
you think
able to
about
live
it.
on your own
Yes.
to an extent.
It's a very interesting timing for this, like this episode specifically to come up kind of thing. A crooked business magnate running for some kind of political office.
And yeah. How do they elect a literally convicted felon?
Twice.
Yeah. Lucky we live in Australia.
Second comes right after first. Because it's one of those things. It's like people weren't voting.
Just a damn popularity contest with you kids.
People were voting for Trump. They were voting against Kamala. She was kids. You're both just awful.
That scene's still good.
So fucking fantastic. But yeah, I thought that was just a very interesting like through line to this episode and life.
Yeah.
Then we get the campaign video, as you said. Then he's sort of like hired the campaign team or whatever.
Yeah.
That guy is the blue-haired lawyer,
Yeah.
the campaign manager,
Yeah.
who I don't think is like named at any point in time.
No.
But yeah, that's obviously like the same voice or very, very similar to the blue-haired lawyer, which they
Yeah,
end
it's the
up
same.
bringing in at some point in time and is like heavily associated with Burns also. That quote like after the video goes up is fucking great. You're up 6 points. Excellent. And that brings me to a total of 6.
Yeah, that was well delivered.
Then I just have President Banner reference ? Oh yeah, that was the. So I'm not sure whether you saw that in your notes anywhere, or if anybody would like to write in and enlighten me to it, because I didn't have time or effort to put into.
Adam, Kate.
And we never did.
Perfect. The like when he's up on stage giving that speech in the video, or I think it's maybe after the video or something like that. I can't remember exactly when. There's a big picture of him that says Burns. Then in the Sideshow Bob episode where he runs for mayor, when he wins, it's the exact same shot. It's that weird like shot from like in a stadium with a big stage in the middle with his picture that says Bob.
Yeah,
so I'm assuming that's a reference to some president's campaign trail, but I don't know which one it is.
They probably all look like that.
Yeah.
And they always fucking fill up random
I'm assuming
places.
it's probably some form of Republican candidate.
I was going to say, yeah. They used to reference...
Nixon's back!
Yeah. They obviously reference Nixon a lot. And I think Gerald Ford as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd also like to express my fondness for that particular president. Oh!
Remember there was a Krusty episode where he's hiding out in that shack still like broadcasting the Krusty show, and it's the Stingy and Battery show.
Professor Gascan!
Yeah.
and former President Ike D. Eisenhower. Let's get busy! Oh, perfect. All right, so real fucking nerdy shit about to go down here, but after, so we get that scene where he's in his office with the campaign manager. He says that to win the race, essentially, he needs to have dinner with one of his employees. This is after he's acknowledged the fish on live TV and stuff like that. Tried to say that. Broke in some kind to play Charles Darwin and tried to say that like this fish has like evolutionary superiority to other fishes because it's got an extra eye or something like that. And I thought that was also a funny line of like, wouldn't you like to have a third eye kind of thing? Because it's the whole like, third eye kind of shit.
Yeah.
But then we get that scene of Marge and Homer in bed and them sort of having that dispute, or he's like trying to snuggle with her, which is their PG way of saying bang.
Yeah. Because she's a Bailey booster.
Yes, and he's a Burns booster or whatever.
Yeah.
But she comes to that conclusion that she came to that conclusion of what she's going to do later in the episode.
Yeah.
Right there and then. But it cuts to the outside shot of the house, right? And the window that's lit up is the right-hand window at the top.
True.
When it's always being shown that their bedroom is the left-hand window.
Yeah.
I wonder who got fired for that blunder.
Excuse me. Who was it in that episode where Homer falls through the skylight? It was Kim Basinger and Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. Baldwin. And he goes over the details of something. Remember
Yeah,
comic book guys talking to him through the gate?
Yeah. Yeah, who is it? It's not Frank either, is it?
No, it's comic book
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about like the color of a door or something in one of the movies.
Yeah. Just very niche shit. And yeah, it does make sense as well. Like the auto dialer episode, Homer yells out the window at Flanders, and Flanders' house is on that side where their bedroom is meant to be.
Yeah, I figure it was just an animation fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was just interesting to see.
True.
That it's one of those things that it's like they could digitally fix, but they just leave it. Because it's like, yeah, we'll see if anybody picks up on it.
I wonder, the episode where their house is on fire and Homer gets thrown out of the top of the house by Ned onto the mattress and he lands on it and goes back through the window of the bottom story.
Yeah, he does.
Which window is that from?
Yeah, I wonder actually, now that I think about it. Maybe he does go in the right window now that I think about it.
But then it wouldn't make sense because their living room's on the left of the house too.
Whose room is that anyway?
On the right.
Yeah.
Lisa's, I think.
Is it?
Yeah. It's that Lisa Nixon fella.
No, because in the episode, this is some real nerdy shit going on.
Not McGaggy's birthday?
in the episode where Nelson and Lisa are dating, Nelson starts throwing rocks at
The back window.
at Homer's window initially, and he's like Lisa, come out, and Homer opens his window. He's like, Lisa's room's right back.
Yeah.
So whose room is that at the front? Is it Maggie's? It has to be.
Must be, yeah.
All right, no, because we're gonna get even nerdier here. In one of the later teen episodes where Maggie becomes attached to Mo, and then she sneaks off and gets goes with the mobsters or something because of the story that Mo was telling her. Her window also leads to like the side of the house because that's where she crawls out and then crawls out the front. Whose fucking room is that at the front? It can't be Bart's because Bart's looks at like Flanders, as has been shown in several episodes.
Is it Roy's room?
Yeah, hi Roy. Good morning, everybody. That's such a fucking the Roy joke is such a brilliant whole episode fucking joke. Like they make one fucking reference to him and then the fucking 22-minute long joke of then he just moves out kind of thing of introducing a shitty side character to a cartoon and then killing them off.
Yeah.
So fucking brilliant. God, I can't wait to get to that in 4 years.
Yeah. That's going to be great.
It's going to be a long podcast. Not this one though.
No.
So then we get the scene of him at dinner with all the card questions that are being handed to them by the campaign team and stuff like that. Then Marge comes out with I'll just read my last note now because it sort of plays into before this one anyway. Because I thought it probably should have just ended the episode there, in my opinion, after that dinner scene. I suppose they always need a way, in their heads to, resolve things completely in every way. They need to have, a sort of resolution or some form of resolution to the, Burn storyline, obviously, and then some form of resolution to Homer and Marge making up because it was shown that they were fighting. And as I've sort of said before, it's I think they always like to have that family dynamic solid at both ends of the episode because that's what gives them the ability to just continuously do that.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier with the animation and jumping around and such. Because if they weren't, then they would actually have to take time and explain it in other episodes. So the episode's obviously a commentary on powerful people trying to run for president without any political experience. Marge pulls a major power move serving him Blinky the three-eyed fish, which I took as showing that the rich and powerful can never truly relate to the common man.
Yeah, and that was the whole premise of him having dinner with the common man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was showing that he can relate to them, but in reality it's those people are so far removed from our society that there's just no way that they can, for lack of a better term, stoop to our level. Which is what they would put it as anyway.
Yeah. There's videos I've seen here and there of people that are rich and famous getting asked the question of how much do you think a gallon of milk costs? And they honestly have no idea.
Yeah, because they don't do shopping.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have people to do that for them.
That's when you've lost touch.
Is that great Key and Peele sketch? Have you ever seen it of one of them plays Will Smith's son? And he's literally just has to have every concept of everything explained to him.
I haven't seen it.
It's some dude's trying to read him a movie script and he's like, wait, a job? And he's like, yeah, it's a job. It's you go to and you earn money. And he's just earn? It's so fucking good. But like I said, they obviously need to have that sort of strong family dynamic established at the start of end of every episode. But the last scene kind of could have just been left to me. It was weird to me that he didn't just fire Homer for that. But it took a couple of minutes to think about it. And after he said something about I'm going to make your life, I'm going to make sure none of your dreams ever come true.
Yeah.
I feel like it's maybe a deeper commentary to take from it and maybe not what they were implying kind of thing. But maybe Burns understands that working in the power plant is a hell in itself and that as long as he doesn't give Homer any tools to remove himself from that, then he will constantly be stuck in that torture for the rest of his life, and therefore his dreams will never come true.
Yeah.
It seems dark and probably not implied, and I'm looking into it way too much.
Maybe, but like he does burn his bridges a few times with Burnsy throughout the show.
Gotta leave the episode.
And yeah, eventually gets that don't forget you're here forever plaque in his office.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, the only other thing I have written down for this ep was the purpose of this episode to establish Burnsy's hatred for everything and everyone. Because up until this point, the times we have seen Burnsy, he's sort of not been as nasty as we know him to be.
It's not even, well, it is nasty to a degree, but it's also like emotionless as well. So it's like weird to see that like earlier scene of him being like upset at the fact of losing his plant. Whereas like he does lose it later on in the seasons, but he doesn't get like sad about it. He just goes all weird kind of thing. But that's also attributed to the fact that he feels like he's like getting old and such. So
yeah,
it is sort of, yeah, maybe it is like a massive like turning point for him. Yeah. But it's also like, you know, he says that thing at the end of the episode, but then they just make it a part of his character that he has no idea who the fuck Homer is for the rest of his life, which also kind of relates back to that point that I was making about rich people being removed from our society. It's like he says that he's going to like make it his life's work to crush his dreams and then just forgets his name.
Yeah. And yeah, for the entirety of the show, basically.
Forever.
The trucks drive themselves?
Hey, shh. Didn't your union rep tell you about the scam we got going?
Well, I'm not really a trucker, so I don't talk to the rep that often.
All right, listen, pal, here's the deal. You stumbled on a secret that only truck drivers are supposed to know. Hey, pay attention and stop looking at that squirrel.
Alrighty. Episode 10. Fuck.
That's why I read the synopsis.
Okay.
It's my job. Back. Season 10, Episode 17. Titled Maximum Homer Drive. Overview reads, while at a steakhouse, a trucker named Red challenges Homer to an eating contest. Red wins, but quickly dies of beef poisoning, making it the first time he will miss a shipment. Feeling bad for him, Homer takes on the duty of transporting Red's cargo to Atlanta with Bart by his side. After falling asleep behind the wheel, Homer awakes to discover that the truck drove by itself with its Navitron auto drive system. He informs other truck drivers who tell him that he cannot let anyone know about the auto drive system because it would make all truck drivers lose their jobs. Later, when cars that pass by Homer find out about it, a mob of truckers confront him. Homer and Bart escape, finish the shipment on time, and go home on a freight train. Meanwhile, after deducing that only Homer and Bart get to do the fun and exciting things in life, Marge and Lisa decide to add excitement to their lives by installing a new doorbell. However, it starts to malfunction after Lisa presses it. Huge.
Nice. All right. So first note I have is the last two major scenes happen in not only like the dining room, but at dinner. Like we have that major scene of Burnsy in the last episode spitting out the fish, and then this first, which comes with like one of the fucking, oh no, that's right. I had to save that. Well, maybe not. Maybe it is time for.
Damn.
Our game shows are a little different from yours. Your shows reward knowledge. We punish ignorance.
So I've got, you still haven't told us why Lenny bit you.
Oh, God. I didn't listen to that part hard enough, but I know he's just been to the doctor for a tetanus shot that he refused to take. And
yeah, that his jaw locks up because of rabies. That's what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just before Lisa cuts in and starts complaining about the slaughterhouse.
Yeah, I can't remember it.
You still haven't told us why Lenny beat you. And then he goes, well, I really gave him no choice. And then Lisa slams a bag on the table.
Fully cuts him off.
Yeah. All right, what do you got?
Okay. Okay, this one was my favorite. Wait, Marlon. You know, I just had a thought. Maybe we're bothering people by trying to change their religion.
See, I knew you were going to write this down for some reason.
Because I laughed quite hard at
There's
it.
another line that she says, isn't there? And that's the one you're looking for?
And then his line as well.
I don't know her line. Can you say it again?
Wait, Marlon. You know, I just had a thought. Maybe we're bothering people by trying to change their religion.
Fuck, I can't remember what she says, but he's just like, you're right. Let's go get real jobs.
Yeah. The other line was, what if we don't have all the answers?
Damn it.
You're right, Noreen. Let's go get real jobs.
Noreen. What a terrible name. All right, so that's one each.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So let's actually get into the episode. So yeah, Lisa comes in, complains about the slaughterhouse.
I heard about that place on the Red Grocer.
I was like, why are we eating this crap? Throws all the fucking food on the floor. Yeah. Did you really have to throw all the food on the floor? Didn't I? And it just cuts.
Yeah.
And an actual chicken as a menu is crazy. Like,
completely flattened out chicken.
well, just like the fact that everyone would be constantly getting salmonella.
Yeah.
The place would be shut down within a week.
I found when Marge said, and the children's menu is written on the beak. I didn't really understand why she needed to add that and what context being on the beak made it different for.
I suppose because it's a smaller part of the chicken for the kids' menu. Oh.
Maybe that's what nuggets are made out of. Beaks.
Probably.
Yeah. Toenails.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Love when Homer's complaining that the biggest steak on the menu is the 72 ounce. And then obviously the challenge thing happens, but there's a line when the waiter goes, and to drink? Meatballs.
Get him a glass of meatballs, Stimpy. What do you want to drink, Olski?
Meat!
The Burns scene of him picking the cow.
Oh, yeah. Just putting the bloody
How about that lively fellow?
bolts three of the
didn't have much
cows.
fight in him. One second thought I'll just have a glass of milk from that cow.
Oh?
Yeah, and they shoot the cow anyway.
Yeah.
So dumb.
And the Heimlich maneuver machine, even though
Yes.
there's a doctor in the house as well.
Being that I own 12% of this restaurant,
Yeah. I don't condone
Obviously.
this beef poisoning.
obviously hiding everything about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, then Homer's complaining about the steak and opts in to take thinks about the steak challenge, and Red turns around and tells him that he might not be able to handle it.
Yeah.
Who are you? Looks at the sign. It's you. You're him. You're Tony Randall.
He's even holding up the piece of steak on the fork like he's in the
He's
photo.
wearing the same thing and everything.
Oh.
It's so good.
Perfect. Yeah, I wouldn't challenge that one on the first try.
Who's a greenhorn? What's a greenhorn? It's an insult, Dad. Suck him. Suck everybody.
Well, I've just finished up a whole lamb, but I think I can school you.
Which is fucking crazy.
My next note is,
And blue collar people can just eat for some reason.
especially truck drivers too.
Like Sleazy Steve, who we spoke about last week. Fuck that. He's smaller than me and he can eat just ridiculous amounts of food. It's crazy.
Jeez.
Several square meals a day.
Does he smoke?
No.
That's probably why he actually has an appetite.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. One of my other favorite quotes of the this episode was Homer's probably halfway through. No, not even halfway through. He's 4 pounds through that 16-pound steak, And he starts hallucinating and looks over at the cows, and they're standing upright, drinking martinis. Oh, humans are so ridiculous. He's not even halfway through, Walter, and he's already hallucinating.
Lousy drunks. I'll show you.
Yeah.
And Bar's just throwing it in his mouth.
There's food in front of me, and I don't want to eat it.
Become everything I've ever hated. It was just the first part where he's buttering the bread. Oh, don't fill up on bread. All right, the steak.
I love, Red finally finishes the steak. And then he sort of like leans backwards and puts his thumbs down his down his pants and just sort of holds it there. And then Homer's like, oh yeah, gotta hand it to you, Red, and like shakes his hand and stuff like that. And then Homer realizes he's dead, like he's not breathing, but the split second before he says, he's not breathing, Red blinks.
Does he?
Yeah.
I never noticed that.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then Hibbert, I think, pronounces him dead.
Yeah.
Probably from...
He's not breathing. Aren't people supposed to breathe?
Yeah. And they says that he's dead, but probably from an unrelated
From beef
incident.
poisoning. Probably from another restaurant. Oh, yeah. And everyone starts eating again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One of the best visual gags I've seen so far. So Red's still smiling when he's on the ground, and then like the coroner's zipping up the bag, and it says, I died at the slaughterhouse.
You should take one of these too. He's eating quite a lot. So yeah, then all the truckers are standing around and saying that like he was a trucking legend and stuff like that.
Old Red never missed a shipment.
Yeah. Which, I don't know, once again, interesting through line to real life. I know fucking dad will never listen to this kind of thing, but a family friend who was a literal like Australian trucking legend, like he's in like 2 Hall of Fames now since he's like died maybe like 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Is he Truckosaurus?
No, his name is Baz, as far as I know. So Barry, as he liked to be called. But yeah, shout out Uncle Baz.
I didn't know Baz. I was just waiting here for Red Barkley's funeral.
I'll handle it. I didn't handle it.
I didn't.
All right. So yeah, we get the scene with the truckers, and then Homer like signs himself up to do it.
Yeah.
Then he's driving down the road, grinding through all the fucking gears, which is crazy. It's like, if you know anything about trucks, like that thing would be on fire with that happening. Then it's fucking one of my favorite fucking like this episode. Like this episode's way better than what I remember it being. Like the fucking kid in the car, it's like, fuck those kid, I'll show him. Fucking drives right up to the fucking puppy. He's like, no, Dad, he wants you to blow your horn. Oh, pulls the.
Turn it off, Homer.
He gets him to pull the thing and it unhitches the trailer. It's just so fucking good.
And yeah, Homer doesn't even like blink an eye at it. Doesn't even cut back to the cab at that point. It just continues on.
Clumsy kid.
Yeah.
Oh, now I've got to try and find all these. Yeah, these season 10 episodes are so hard to write notes for, like even like analytical notes, because they're just so fucking good.
I think we've got to enjoy these episodes while they're here.
Yeah. So I didn't write any notes on it, but like I didn't write any notes on it at all. But we get the next sort of scene, which I felt went on for like a weird period of time, like that scene, or a couple of scenes actually, that we get between Lisa and Marge kind of thing. It's like they weirdly like sandwiched the 2 stories kind of thing, instead of like cutting back and forth like they would in regular episodes. They have this like big chunk kind of thing at the start, then Homer and Bart go off, do a couple of things, then we cut back to Lisa and Marge and they do a couple of things, then we cut back to, then it sort of starts cutting back and forth. I just found it a little bit like, it didn't annoy me or anything, I just found it a little bit strange as a choice for them to make. But yeah, we get them deciding that they don't have enough adventure in their life, and that adventure to Marge is getting a new doorbell.
Yeah. And even Lisa like thinks it's lame.
Yeah. I guess I'm just a big lame. It's lame to be proud of being lame. And then Nelson lights the dog shit at the door in the store.
Yeah, like the
fake display door.
The display door, yeah.
Gil still comes out and fucking stamps it out.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. Trainee.
They've used Gil a fair bit in the way we're watching the show. Like he's come up a few times already.
Yeah, actually, now you think about it, he came up like twice in season 20 and maybe like 3 times in season 10 already.
Yeah.
So he makes more appearances than what you give him credit for.
He's probably the most reused non-main character, I would say. Into like the Sideshow Bob fact the other week where he's only been used, 12 times?
Yeah,
in
I
the entirety of the show.
suppose.
And we've seen Gil 5 times.
Or I suppose the best, you would say. The best used.
Yeah.
Not the best used, like the best. I'm always like smiling, or it's always laugh, or always a laugh when Gil's on screen, as opposed to like certain characters that you would say get about the same amount of screen time, or like, you know, like little throwaway scenes and stuff like that, like comic book guy or the sarcastic delivery guy who's also in this episode.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want your half order of garlic bread?
No, but if you just bring the... He's already driving off.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we get the next scene of Homer and Bart fishing and then figuring out that they need to cover 2,200 miles in 10 hours or whatever it is. Homer takes the bottle of sleeping pills and the pet pills and falls asleep at the wheel and the auto drive system kicks in.
Yeah.
Obviously, The Simpsons didn't predict self-driving cars, but maybe the fact that people would do stupid things with it is some form of like loose prediction kind of thing.
Yeah,
because there's that whole like Simpsons Mandela effect, and like I said, it's a real loose through line. But once again, what is our show built on if it's not loose through lines?
That's true. That's our shaky establishment is basically through lines that we're correlating.
And yeah, so then like I don't know, this episode once again like was weirdly paced. Like we get these big sections of them sort of explaining or not explaining, like establishing these parts of the story, and then the last like 7 minutes are just this weird sort of creamed in conclusion. Like we get him showing up with the truckers and then like letting it slip that he's not really a trucker.
Yeah.
To those guys. Have you got something written down?
Yeah, it's when he delivers Red's final truckload.
Oh, we'll get to that in a second because I've also got that written down. Fuck, that's a good quote.
Yeah.
So, well, did you see anything from like the little book? So after he figures out the auto drive system, they tell him not to let it go because not to let anybody know because it's an industry secret.
He calls through a 1038.
Yeah, and but just the fact that they're out on the fucking like it's so great that he gets told like maybe like an hour before it, don't tell anybody about this, and he literally screams it at a bus full of people. The auto drive system's driving the truck for us, but don't tell anybody. It's a big scam. And Bart's like
taking photos of him.
That weird little dance he does when he gets out of the fucking on the bonnet. You're right, Dad. It is windy. Makes me fucking think of. Oh, so good. Yeah, then the guy sees him out on the bonnet and calls in a 1038. But did you see the fucking...
I didn't read what the other ones were, no.
I didn't read what all the other ones were because the first one was the only one that caught my attention. 1033, actual bear in air.
Actual bear
in air. I don't fucking know. But it was just so good. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that is quite random.
It's so fucking random. And I assume that was probably them just being like, what can we string together as a sentence that like makes sense, like if you read it kind of thing, but just does not make sense as a situation in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, you'd never have to call it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, 1033, there's a bear flying through the air, and that's a problem, apparently.
I think I'll donate $1 million to the orphanage. When bears fly.
Gonna donate that $1 million, sir? I'd still rather not.
And we never did.
I've got a good Lisa quote. So after some of the trucking parts just then, it switches back to Marge and Lisa. So by this point, Lisa's rung the doorbell and it hasn't stopped and it's continued playing. And Marge is enjoying it at first. And then it's still playing when they're trying to go to sleep. And Lisa's walking down the stairs with the earmuffs on saying, "Oh, Mom, I need to get some sleep. I have a test tomorrow on when birds suddenly appear." I mean, English.
Yeah, it was good. She opens the toolbox. Your father traded our tools for M&Ms again. Again. As in it's happened several times.
Yeah. I know that that Lisa quote's one of Mitch's favorites too. I've heard him say that before.
It is a good fucking quote.
Yeah. I have a test tomorrow on when birds suddenly appear.
In English.
Yeah.
But yeah, is it straight after that we get them finally like delivering? No, they get like the standoff or like the convoy or whatever.
So yeah, Homer's driving up to basically a roadblock because all the truckers are trying to stop him from going any further, essentially. And then the auto drive ejects itself.
I'm afraid I can't let you do this, Red. I'm not Red, I'm Homer. Gotta go.
I'm afraid I can't let you do this, Red. The risk is unacceptable. The line, as well as the Navitron auto drive system's voice, is a reference to HAL 9000, the antagonist in the 1968 science fiction film 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, I thought it was in reference to like Knight Rider.
I thought so too.
Night boat.
There's always a canal.
Look, a canal. There's always a canal or an outlet.
And then, yeah, do you want to deliver the final quote?
Nah, you do it. Fucking great. Red shipment delivered on time as always.
All right, let's see. Artichokes and migrant workers. Shuts it down.
I've never noticed that before.
Neither.
Which is the thing that I'm really enjoying about like what we're doing, because like there's always like the quotes that you sort of like look forward to, like the Tony Randall thing. I started writing it down before it even like came up in the episode because I remember it so well.
Yeah.
But there's little things like that which you like either A, didn't understand as like a kid or even a teenager. Really, there's something on my arm. I don't know what it is.
It's a bug that looks like Dad. Let's kill it.
Okay. It's a bug that's on Ned. Yeah, things that you either don't notice as a kid or like an early teen, or just like haven't picked up on because there's that many things happening around them.
Yeah. We would have been 6 years old at the time this episode aired. Yeah. That's why we would have missed this.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't know what migrant workers are.
No. And yeah, my sort of final note was, in its original broadcast, the episode received a 7.8 Nielsen rating among adults between ages 18 and 49, the highest such rating for the series since Wild Barts Can't Be Broken, which was in this season as well. And the ratings boost was credited by Variety to the first episode of Futurama, which premiered after this episode.
Okay.
And this episode aired March 28 in 1999.
Interesting. Interesting that fact comes up because we'll be doing a little Futurama episode in the coming weeks with a recurring guest.
He doesn't know about it yet.
Matt's
but
older,
he's keen.
balder, fatter brother.
Will actually be older as of that recording.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's why he's coming.
Happy future birthday, Mitchell.
Yes.
And then the last note I have is just a trainload of napalm. You crazy? I'm not driving a trainload of napalm to Springfield. Thank you.
Homer just...
He doesn't even say anything to anybody. He just gets straight on the train.
Throws off Red like the trucker hat and picks up the train driver hat.
It's her, the little girl who doesn't recoil at the sight of us.
Huh?
Hi, guys. I brought cookies. Chocolate chip for Donald. Low sodium for Abe.
Hey!
Not made by immigrants for Sam. And imaginary for Major Preston.
With this cookie, I can buy back Private O'Malley from the Zulus.
Alrighty.
This will be a short one.
Season 20.
And it is not.
Wonder who's going to get fired for that one.
I tried to press it, but no.
Turn it off, Homer.
It can't be turned off!
That's what we should just do for 10 minutes. Just sit here and just press the fucking soundboard.
Are
like,
you
all right, that's
ready
good.
to laugh? All right. Season 20, episode
God,
17.
you awful episode.
If anyone out there actually likes this episode or like most of this season,
you're wrong.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with these people?
It's a contest for children.
I don't care.
Pipe down.
All right. It's titled The Good, the Sad, the Drugly. Synopsis reads, Bart sets up Milhouse to take the fall for a prank the two of them pulled. Oh, sorry about that. And the duo's friendship becomes strained when Bart falls for a charitable girl named Jenny, voiced by Anne Hathaway.
Oh, okay. I thought I recognized that voice.
Very hot.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Lisa becomes insane and depressed after reading internet articles predicting that Springfield will be a barren wasteland in 50 years and is given antidepressants to turn her into a mindless zombie. Even the synopsis is just awful.
Yeah, there's not even like, if you compare that synopsis to like the synopsis that you read for the first 2 episodes that we covered, like that's even got nothing in it.
Yeah, and that was from the exact same article type list.
Fuck, the end of these episodes are getting, like the end of this episode, like the end of our episodes are just going to get bleaker and fucking bleaker.
Yeah, we're going to have to do something about that.
I'm trying to do something about it. I'm trying to find like questions within it now that like need to be answered earlier on kind of thing. So my first...
Oh, sorry. Cut you off. Maybe we just cover like 2 season 20 episodes at a time just to get it out of the way quicker. Like, I know the purpose of this show is to analyze seasons 10 seasons apart, but my first note was this is nearly unwatchable. Like, it's not getting better. Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell. Yes. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. Because then it just leads us into this territory of having to cover like seasons later than season 30, which I really don't want to do. That's just going to hurt.
Yeah. Will this show run its natural course earlier than expected?
Please. Please just take it out of the back and put a bullet in his head. That would be nice. But like I said, I'm trying to like now ask questions of the show to actually like sort of look at it from an analytical perspective rather than just sitting there and being like, I hate this and I hate that I'm subjecting myself to this. So when does Lisa first play something other than the Simpsons theme in the opening credits? Because like when we get like the classic credit sequence, obviously she's shown walking out of the room playing like a saxophone solo, but it's always a continuation of the theme. I'm wondering when is the first time that she actually plays something that isn't the theme, because that does become a thing. Yeah. They start to switch it out every now and then. They'll make her play a different tune, which also sort of fits into it. Yeah.
I'd say it's probably like mid-teens somewhere. Yeah. When they started running out of ideas. Ideas.
Nice. I do have one quote written down, but I didn't care enough to actually like look into the names for it. That's, you know, how much I don't give a fuck about this episode.
And we never did.
When someone's handing out cookies. Oh, that's right. Yeah, when Bart ends up at the retirement home after like the whole first sequence of they play that prank. Yeah. Which even then I thought was just like a little bit like too over-explained. It's like, why are you like trying to make this like niche joke of like, did you get all the Phillips head? Did you get all the flat head? It's like, yeah, I understand that that's relatively common knowledge, but even a lot of kids wouldn't understand what that is.
True.
It's like, are you trying to educate them on something, or are you just like trying to fill time with lines that don't really make sense kind of thing? Yeah. It would have, the same effect would have been achieved if you just said, did you get all the screws? Yeah.
I feel like they're sort of petering away from leaving them as kids. They're trying to have them more educated for whatever reason, like in the show itself. Whereas like earlier seasons, Bart was never above a 4th grade level in terms of thinking, therefore would not know what those screws were and wouldn't need to know just because he can rely on his witty self.
And yeah, has, billions of other ways to play pranks other than like taking apart the entire school, which admittedly is like a funny prank kind of thing, but it's like, I don't know, something about it just sort of annoyed me. But then we get like that. Well, I think it's not that particularly annoyed me. I think it's the scene afterwards of like Skinner explaining the concept of a taco and stuff like that. It's like that joke only went on for 10 seconds and it was just like, this feels like it's way too long and an unnecessary amount of time.
Yeah, so that was when Skinner was trying to get Milhouse to confess that he had someone else helping him with this sort of prank. And Skinner was explaining that if he was suspended for a nickel 5 days, he would miss Taco Wednesday, and was describing what goes in a taco. And sort of Milhouse takes the imaginary taco and then looks outside to Bart, and Bart's standing there basically saying, "Don't tell on me."
Yeah, or like pleading at him with his eyes.
Yeah.
So Milhouse decides to not do that. And I can't exactly remember why Bart ends up having to go to the retirement home.
Homer drops him there.
But why, though? I can't remember.
He did say something, and then he said, "I'm just going to go around the corner and sleep or nap or something."
I'm just going to go around the corner and nap. And then he takes his pants off and puts them on the roof.
Yeah.
I don't really understand why. I'm assuming it's a reference to something. It's got to be. There's no way that that's just like a joke that they made. Because if it is, it makes no fucking sense.
No.
It has to be a reference. Otherwise, it annoys me once again.
Yeah, there was nothing in terms of referencing things. Another self-referential episode.
Well, obviously, the title is a reference to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly Clint Eastwood movie, but the plot doesn't relate to it in any way, shape, or form, which is another one of those things that, like, if you look back in the earlier seasons, if an episode was named after a movie or a TV show or something like that, it would vaguely have tie-ins to that concept.
There'd be parodies of it somewhere.
This doesn't seem to, in my knowledge, my very, very limited knowledge.
Yeah, like the season 2 episode.
If our producer was here, he could probably enlighten us.
We're already on that one, dipshit.
He's attending family matters.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
I don't care.
We love you, buddy. Please don't leave us. I'm cold and there are wolves after me. But yeah, then we get the scene of him seeing this pretty girl. What's her name?
Jenny.
I feel like he's also... Anyway, but no, I'm not going to get into that because I can't remember anything. Doesn't he also have another girlfriend named Jenny at some point in time?
I'm just thinking, do all of his
Jennifer.
love interests, like Jessica, Reverend Lovejoy's kid. What about the babysitter that goes out with Jimbo? What was her name?
Oh, I feel like it's like Laura or something like that.
Yeah, Laura, probably.
Yeah. But there is another one, like Wolfcastle's daughter, that he gets involved with in one of the later seasons. I wonder if her name starts with a J as well.
Maybe.
We could look it up.
And we never did.
But yeah, so the quote that I was alluding to is when she's walking around and she's giving out cookies, not made by immigrants for blank, because I can't remember the Asian guy's name and don't care to look into it, and imaginary for a captain, also blank, that I've got written down.
Yeah.
He says, like, good, I can buy... He says you can buy somebody back from the Zulus. Which was a reference to something, obviously, but I don't know.
Someone out there might.
Yeah, maybe. I'm going to you, Boardman. Talk to us.
We are literally going to just keep harassing you until you reach out.
Eventually.
Boardman.
He'll probably just stop listening.
We're looking for you. You're in there somewhere.
I'm telling you, I didn't do anything.
I don't care.
Oh, the beer baron quote.
Oh, you're out there somewhere. I'll find you.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will. Okay, so my next note is, why does Nelson need to be making sex references?
Oh, yeah.
When he gives him
the gum.
Yeah, he gives him the two
Like
bits of gum and he's
gummies.
like, you have another one in case you get lucky, and then rubs his head. It's like, yeah, I get it. You're trying to be like, you know, like a little bit risque with it for a PG show or whatever kind of thing, but you don't need to.
No.
It's just, it feels unnecessary for their formula.
And he
it doesn't
take his advice anyway.
No. And it doesn't fit.
No.
Yeah, then we get that annoying like joke which recurs of Nelson hiding in a bush and saying puncher or whatever,
Yeah.
which Bart decides not to do and just asks her out on a picnic.
If the fuckleberries are too tart.
Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. Oh, you're killing me. Maybe it's silicosis. So wait, what happens next? Do they go straight on the picnic?
Yeah, he asks her out on the picnic. And what did they even do on the picnic? I
don't know.
remember.
They're just sitting there. They're talking about something, and then, yeah, he lies and says that he like works with mentally challenged people. Here comes one of them now, and it's
I
Homer.
take care of this mentally handicapped guy. Hi, Homer. Boy.
He seems really high functioning. It's just like, wait a minute. He's like yelling at himself in a river.
The reflection of himself.
Yeah. Hey, man, I don't want any trouble.
Look, man, I don't want any trouble.
Take my wallet. Drops it in the river.
Yeah. The delivery of that scene was actually quite good.
It was, yeah, like I made a note of it. I didn't write down the quote, but I made a note of it because it was like one of the actual good jokes of this season. But I now, looking at my notes, I've realized that we did miss a scene.
I don't care.
So the next scene is Lisa doing her research, or like she's doing her homework. Then she decides to take a break, which to her is doing social studies homework, and then starts looking into all those internet articles.
I'll just do a few equations.
She starts looking into all those like conspiracy theorist articles about what
That's right.
Springfield's going to be like in 50 years, which like straight away I was just like, Lisa's way too intelligent of a person to be sucked in by like dumb internet rhetoric. So that point kind of like removed me from the show a little bit straight away. I was like this just makes no sense.
Yeah.
I was like, I can understand like Homer, Marge, but like literally anybody else in the family or even the show for that matter being like turned into a crackpot and would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Rather than Lisa. Like they could have given her a better reason to just be overstressed kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we get like that scene that we just talked about. Fuck, I've only got 2 more notes for this. Holy shit.
Yeah, same. We don't have to.
Yeah, we don't have to drag this out, but I'm just trying to think of like the rest of the scenes. Yeah, like Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
That's her name, isn't it? Yeah. So Jenny comes to dinner. Then Milhouse turns back up.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of like actually funny stuff that happens from here on out, and it's sort of alluded that Bart's like.
Well, Bart was meant to see him while he was suspended.
Yes.
And didn't do that. And then Milhouse comes to figure out why, and then Jenny's there.
Figures out that it's, because of a girl, then sort of starts following them around everywhere.
There was a good quote from Bart in that scene. It's more of like another thing that ties in with what I said before about Bart being too smart for what his character is. He said, real best friends often don't speak for years at a time. And it was like such a true statement that just...
And a very mature thing as well.
That's what I mean.
Because it's one of those things is like we've been like fucking, best, like very good friends for fucking years. But then there was also a period of time where we just didn't speak for years. Not for any fucking reason. You just get busy.
Yeah.
But it felt like, one of those things that, like, maybe not so much an intelligence thing, but just a maturity thing that they're trying to attach to these kids as well. It's like they're trying to remove them from childhood too much.
Yeah.
Even in these situations where they're, like, literally in a school.
Yeah.
It's like I don't understand why they need to be, like, these, like, young adults.
Just keep doing dumb shit.
Yeah, that's it. That's what was funny to begin with.
Like, get a super squishy and then just go about the town and, like, go into the mall and sleep in the mall all night. And then wake up and there's a tiger on the loose in there.
Yeah, that's right. When does that episode happen? That's a fucking good one. Let's just think about better episodes.
Okay.
It's nearly over. Let's think about better episodes again. The only other two things I have written down are like my final note and this one. Front-facing.
I don't say introduction, I say introduction.
Front-facing animation makes a return with Bart at the counter while he's like lamenting. Wait, what is he lamenting? That the girl's gotten away from him?
No lament, only clavcalant.
No more. Stick.
I've got the same note, but I've got a different scene of front-facing animation.
Oh, okay. What do you have?
So when Lisa's sort of taken this ignore it all and she's on her bed and she's just sort of looking fucked, for lack of a better term.
Which is a pretty fucking dark representation because as far as I know, antidepressants don't actually like do anything like that.
Yeah, they don't zombify you from what I've heard.
I don't know. From what I've like spoken to a couple of like people who I've known that have been on it, it does sort of zombify you, but not to that degree. It does just what they've described it as is it just makes you like emotionless.
Yeah.
So you're not real. It's not even like you're just not capable of like happy, sad. You're just flat kind of thing.
Which is probably better than just wanting to die.
Yeah, let's not get too deep with it, but you know, there's better ways of getting yourself out of it.
True.
Yeah.
It's definitely, if you take this ignore it all drug, you're not just going to see smiling faces on everything.
No, there was just a weird representation of it. And then like...
I thought it was a cool visual though.
I thought it was a funny joke of Maggie just trying to shove the fan into her face, which is another one of those like through lines of Maggie being sort of a little bit more intelligent than she is, but a weird way of showing it of like, why is she just trying to like shove a fan towards Lisa kind of thing? And then does it to the dog.
Yeah. There was a good scene as well when they were like having dinner at one point and Lisa looks outside and Snake's running away from Wiggum, but they've both got the smiley faces. And then
that's at dinner just before when, like Jenny turns up and I can't remember, Homer's doing something. And then she's like, is your family okay? And then she looks at Lisa and Lisa's just like, hey, smiley face.
I remember what Homer was doing. So he's got like a cob of corn and like a drumstick in both hands and the fly lands on his plate. And he looks at it and then looks at both the things in his hands and then like headbutts the fly.
I don't remember that. I must have been writing something.
Maybe.
That's actually, once again, like visual jokes are still good in these seasons.
Homer is just a little bit too dumb.
Yeah,
like
he's...
The scene where he walked past the picnic was perfect. That's what Homer does. Just shit like that.
Yeah, he's not like... I don't know. Like, well, yeah, like he's literally referred to as a mentally challenged person, which is what he feels like in a lot of the other episodes, as opposed to that specific scene where it was just like, this is typical, like dumb, kind of stupid.
And there was no explanation after it either, which is what season 20's notable for, unfortunately, is explaining things too much.
The Millhouse scene of when he walks away from like the bake sale and he's like slowly walking away and it's meant to be this thing and it's like, why, like
he like carefully steps over the piece of cake
and the seesaw and then like he falls down off screen and it's like, this is just going on for an overly extended period of time. I don't know why, because it's like, it wasn't funny from the start. It's not going to get any funnier when he crashes into something off screen.
And then there was another scene that was a bit too much dialogue as well, was when Bart gets that initial first date when he asks Jenny out and then he goes and tells groundskeeper Willie for whatever reason. Then he sort of comes up with this fake sounding story of having a Swedish supermodel as his girlfriend. And it obviously sounds unbelievable. And then he goes back to raking and then the door of his like shack opens up and it is actually a Swedish supermodel.
Yeah.
Telling him to come back inside. And he's like, nothing takes me away from my job or something like that.
Yeah, it should have just been left at her opening the door and telling him to come back inside. I don't that's like, it just felt like another one of those situations of them explaining the joke to you kind of thing, as opposed to just leaving it to your imagination and moving on.
Yeah.
But speaking of moving on, we'll go to my final thought here.
Yeah.
Pretty different stories being told through this episode for both kids. Bart trying to change himself willingly to impress a girl, and Lisa changing unwillingly due to her environment and subsequent medication.
Yeah, that's true. I think I've stopped analyzing as much the last sort of couple of weeks.
I don't care.
Unintentionally, but
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. I do need to come up with some more interpreting what the episode's trying to tell without telling it, but it's hard because the season 21 literally describes to you in every aspect what it's trying to convey.
It feels like there's not that there's a hidden meaning behind every episode kind of thing. I'm just trying to write down like what I take from it. But even then, that's really like me grasping at straws. That's essentially just me telling the plot in a different way, as opposed to you look at the first one or the second one. Yeah, the first one, for instance, and it's actually like this is a political commentary.
Yeah.
Whereas, you look at that and it's sort of, it literally is just me explaining the plot in a more wordy way.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Or maybe, like, that probably was written verbatim on a fucking storyboard somewhere.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That's how close it is to the actual storyline.
Yeah. And there is, like, obviously other people that have reviewed all these seasons and episodes before.
Badly.
Yeah. But they try and...
You try to listen to any other Simpsons podcast other than this? Don't listen to any other Simpsons podcast other than this. But if you do, you'll come back to this.
It's more so, that. Definitely don't do that. Stay here. It's warm.
Stay as long as you can. For the love of God, cherish it. Okay, that's enough, Billy. You gotta cherish it. You do.
They try and sort of argue the point that people that say The Simpsons sort of declined after season 10 or whatever, like, haven't truly watched all these episodes, and it probably is good up until season 20 or close to it, but at the point of season 20, if you believe that it hasn't declined since season 2 to 10, you are lying.
If you were to put somebody in a cave and give them, like, no fucking, like, it's a weird fucking hypothetical or whatever, but they can watch everything ever, but like only limited amounts of The Simpsons. If you only showed them seasons 2 through 10, they think it's the greatest TV show of all time. If you only showed them seasons from fucking season 20 onwards, they would claw at the walls to try and get out.
Yeah. I suppose, like, if the show had no other context, but say it started, if its first season was season 20, it would have died very quickly.
This podcast wouldn't exist.
No.
There'd be no reason to do it.
No.
And I mean, speaking of podcasts not existing, you can find this episode on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. No longer Instagram. Still not Instagram. Not exactly fucking sure why. They gave it back to me, then took it away. And
Yeah, and it's no point posting on my Instagram because mine has to stay private for job purposes.
Yes.
As much as I'd like to. Acne disappearing.
Restrictions remain. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Up yours, children.